Everyone's asking. Okay, I'll answer. The leader of the DMK, the party that's running my home state, is a guy called Stalin.
It seems like there's a lot of dudes named Stalin in India.
Stalin and Lenin are also very common names, but they're like the double-edged sword of that is that there are people in India named Hitler. So there's that.
What the I just watched, bro? This one didn't even have enough context clues. Like the other ones at least have like something I can grab onto. This one was just Kino, absolute cinema. Bro, I got insane clips from the clip last night. I was covering the election results. They were both singing about each other's election hopes. You have to watch this coverage, by the way.
यानी कि ये माना जा सकता है कि 2014 और 2019 की जो कांग्रेस की टैली है उत्तर प्रदेश की उससे बेहतर और ठीक-ठाक बेहतर प्रदर्शन करती उत्तर प्रदेश में कांग्रेस दिख रही है। मीना आप कुछ कह रही थी। बिल्कुल, एक तो बड़ी खबर मैं बता दूं गरिमा आपको कि अर्जुन राम मेघवाल मतलब कानून मंत्री हैं बीकानेर के सांसद अब चौथी बार वो चुनाव जीते हैं बीकानेर से और ये बीजेपी के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सीट कई मायनों में थी। प्रधानमंत्री के बहुत करीबी लोगों में से एक माने जाते हैं वो।
What happened? My dad deadass watches this shit every day, man. I mean, I feel like it'd be way more fun. They were making an announcement about a new seat win. I thought you played that sound for a second. All right. Arun, you wanna if you wanna come on and educate us about what the fuck's going on, hit me up. I called you. Pick up.
What's up? I'm here.
Yo, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to the South Korean coverage kind of clearing sorry ass a little bit?
No, I'm sorry. South Korea does not touch Indian news in terms of insanity.
I mean, this is pretty fire. I think there was a Chinese news too that would do some shit. I remember watching some like Chinese animated shit too. They would just like, or was it might have been Taiwanese, but they would just like make up stories. I mean, pretty fire overall.
I mean, like in terms of, I've always maintained this. Like Indian news is, or like news from the subcontinent is always like the most insane. Like I've shown clips to like Carter before of this one guy basically pulling a sword out on television, like threatening to behead an actress. What's up, chat?
What does she
I've
do?
always maintained that our news is actually the most absolutely insane. Yeah.
What does she do to deserve it? Her vibes must have been fucked.
Nah, it's really stupid. So the long story is that the guys that pulled out the sword they come from, it's a bit complicated to explain, but they come from, I guess, a caste like based organization called the Karni Sena, which represents Rajputs. And so there's a movie called Padmavati that came out like several years ago. And it was about how basically the Rajput queens and the Rajput, like there's a love sequence between like Alauddin Khilji, who is like one of the leaders of like the head of the Delhi Sultanate. And there was like a dream sequence where he fell in love with the Rajput Hindu woman. And so the people over at like the Karni Sena got incredibly pissed. And they were like, all right, actually, let me just pull out the clip. I'll show you what I mean. Let me pull out the clip so I can show you. Karni Sena Sword Inch Studio. Let me DM it to you. This is what I mean. Like Indian news is top tier insanity. I'm almost weirdly proud in the sense that we have the most insane news. Okay, go all the way to the beginning. Go to the beginning.
I'm gonna share it with you too, so we can look at it together.
Yeah. Just go all the way to the beginning first, because you'll see what I mean.
पद्मावती के होने का आपके पास क्या प्रूफ है?
Yeah.
इतिहास के
So
पन्नों
that's
में
they're
दर्ज
talking
है
about Padmavati.
इतिहास के पन्नों में
The
दर्ज है
guys on the
16,000
right in the
रानियों
camera
के
are
साथ
hiding.
अभिषेक
उन्होंने
आपने
जोहर
पढ़ा
किया
होगा,
था।
there you go.
मैं मान के चल रहा हूँ कि आप
The guy in the
इतिहास
middle.
पढ़ते हैं, आप पढ़ चुके हैं इतिहास, आप कहाँ तक पढ़े हैं, आपने क्या
Respect.
पढ़ा है इतिहास में पद्मावती का?
मैं केवल
Bro is pulling out the blicky. Like, that's, yo, Americans do this shit and we celebrate it. You know, my man is.
साफ तौर से ये कहना चाहता हूँ
No, the only reason we have
कि
swords is
संजय
because
लीला
guns are
भंसाली जो
not
केवल
as easy to procure in India. That's the reason.
Yeah, because you're not a free country. Well, not you, but India is not a free country.
Oh, we're not. We've never been a free country, to be honest. Like,
No, that's what, but like freedom in the American way, I'm saying. Like,
oh, well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you are, maybe not you, but people from your community took issue with me saying that like India is aligned with the West. I've often talked about the complicated nature of like Indian relationships with the West in general.
Yeah.
But I would say that like broadly it is seen as like a neoliberal project. Would you disagree with that as far as like?
No, I don't disagree with that at all. So I think we're both on the same page of like India being a neoliberal project. And I would even go further as to say like the neoliberalism project in India didn't start with Modi. It started a long time ago,
Oh, yeah.
especially like it started since the 90s, and it started like it's like Vajpayee was one of the major accelerators of the neoliberal project. And then even under Congress, you had Manmohan Singh. He basically accelerated that neoliberalism project, which led to Modi. So I think we're on the same page on that. I think the issue that I had originally taken issue with to begin with was because like unfortunately, like the way it was framed, it made it seem like the United States was just like dictating every one of India's moves,
No.
right? Yeah. So that's where I think we took it. That's where I was like, hey, whoa, there's a little bit more complications to that, is what I was saying.
I would say that even Pakistan is a bigger client to India in that regard.
Even then, I would say like, again, I would say that Pakistan is a client state in the sense that it is a literal client of the United States. There are many times where like, again, like it's not, even with the Imran Khan ouster, right? Even when Imran Khan was thrown out, I would say that there were far more internal tensions between General Bajwa, Qamar Bajwa, and Imran Khan that led to his ouster rather than, and he said so, and Imran Khan said so in his interview with Mehdi Hasan, like recently. He basically said like he had run afoul of the military recently, and he specifically blamed General Bajwa for his ouster because apparently Bajwa went to the United States and said like, hey, like Imran Khan is like anti-Ukraine or whatever the fuck. But like the thing is like I think like the communists in
but I've have it on good authority that he's not in a purely Islamic relationship. So I think he deserves
he's
prison.
not. Yeah, he's not. He's
they put him in prison for woke.
Yeah. They it was like some violation of the Marriage Act or something. The stupid thing about Imran Khan's situation is that he was like, if you're like most people that are not like PTI fans or whatever, like most people that I've talked to with regards to like PTI and that are not PTI fans, they don't like him either because Imran Khan basically, you cannot get into power in Pakistan without the consent of the military, and that includes Imran Khan, right? And so a lot of people hate Imran Khan in Pakistan because he got into power. And then a lot of the inflation that Pakistan is dealing with right now is directly because of the IMF controlling Pakistan's purse strings. And it was actually Imran Khan that laid the groundwork for that. So that was like the main reason, like that's so like when in some sense, like what's the dumb thing about this entire situation is it gives like the army has effectively turned Imran Khan into a martyr when originally like he was part of the same sort of establishment that he's now criticizing. So it's very stupid, but at the same time, like he is unfortunately like the figurehead of like the anti-military resistance in a sense.
Yeah.
But yes, it's basically a lot of the nonsense, the economic nonsense that Pakistan has to deal with directly like leads back to the IMF effectively.
Oh yeah.
And Imran Khan.
Okay, but getting back to India.
Yeah.
So the elections happened. Is it how much of the ballot stuffing memes are true?
It's true to an extent. It's definitely true. They actually tried to do it. There was videos circulating around of if some of my community members are in chat, but there were videos of people, especially in Uttar Pradesh, especially like children going around and using and voting illegally because they're children, right? They're not supposed to vote. Like 8 times. And the thing with India is that a lot of our, like most of it is, we use electronic voting machines. So we do not use paper ballots most of the time. We actually use electronic voter machines. And the funny thing is that there was a research paper done regarding the electronic voter machines. And what happened was afterwards, after the paper was released, the Modi government arrested the people that did the research paper. Because one, technically they got the electronic voting machine like through unscrupulous manners, you could say. But they found that the electronic voting machines were very prone to rigging. They were prone to basically fraud, election fraud, so on and so forth. So they arrested the guy a long time ago, and they put him in jail.
One second. One thing I do have to mention for chatters is, it is correct. Paper ballots are literally, I mean, I don't even know how you would implement it across the board, but paper ballots are seen as, in the United States of America and globally, a safer measure, at least as a fail-safe, to check against electronic ballots and all other types of voting. So yes, paper ballots currently still are one of the safest ways to have like a mass voting happen.
Right. Yep. That's Hasan's right about that. Another thing that happened was the day of the elections. So you had cops in the state of Uttar Pradesh literally go to people's houses and put them, like, these are some of the counters that were supposed to count the votes. They put them under house arrest, right? So basically they blackmailed so many people in Uttar Pradesh as well. So it's definitely, and like, in addition to like the direct outright rigging that the Modi government tried to do over the past election, they also froze the opposition's bank account right before the elections. And so they basically made it so that Congress and the opposition, the India alliance, could not actually campaign during the last leg of the election, right? Yeah, so actually I think India's press freedom is actually really, really bad. It's below Turkey, and it's actually below Palestine. Palestine has a higher press freedom index than India does.
Bro, below Turkey? That's crazy. I thought Turkey was like one of the worst, if not the worst on the planet.
It is. No, Turkey, it has a press freedom worse than Turkey. It has a press freedom worse than Sri Lanka, which is surprising. Because if you know anything about Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka's press freedom, they openly assassinated journalists left and right throughout like decades. And especially if you're a Tamil, they assassinated you, right? If you're a Tamil journalist or you're a Tamil, if you were a Tamil person that was speaking out against the government in Sri Lanka, you got murked immediately.
Well,
right?
Israel and it seems India aligned on the not letting Al Jazeera into their country to do correspondence.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. India's insane. It's funny that you mentioned that though, because like there's a misconception, and I saw you mention it on stream at one point where there's actually a thing that you caught on that no one else actually caught on to, and I'll give you credit for it. India's foreign policy perspective for the longest time was actually far better than the United States for very obvious reasons, right? Israel is basically,
they're a colony of the British as well.
Yeah, India was a direct colony of the British, and we were part of the non-aligned. Well, I'm American, but India was part of the non-aligned movement for the longest time, and basically they were the longest. Like they basically had originally, allied with Palestine because of that, because they saw similarities between the anti-British struggle, and on top of that, It's always it's a good luck because India was always seen as like one of the beacons of like the anti-colonial movement for a long time. How much of India's recent foreign policy is related to IDU Stephen Harper? What do you mean, Steve? Like you talking about Canada or something? I don't know what IDU is.
I don't know. Don't read the chat. You just keep.
I'm
going.
a streamer. What do you mean don't read chat?
Yeah, that's why it's not good. It's not good to read chat. You know that already. All right, so talk to me about these parties. So what's going on? You got a shit ton of parties. I have no idea how the fucking Indian election process works in general. And I watched this So Sorry segment thinking, this will enlighten me a little bit. But
No.
I have more questions than I have answers after this.
Okay, let's watch this. So Aam Aadmi Party is how do I explain these guys? Aam Aadmi Party are liberals, right? But they're a phenomenon that doesn't exist in the United States, right? So Aam Aadmi Party are basically liberals that very heavily lean on welfare policies, and they're basically what you could call populist like neoliberals. It's a phenomenon that doesn't exist in the United States because when they were no, I wouldn't. No, Trump is not the same as this guy. I would say Trump is obviously economically neoliberal, but this guy had originally positioned himself as like a Bernie Sanders kind of figure originally.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So this guy had originally like the sense that you would get from him originally when he was campaigning like a long time ago in like 2014 and stuff, like long time ago. The sense that Arvind Kejriwal you would get from him was that he was actually like, a man of the masses. Like he was pro welfare. He was pro, and he does, to his credit, he has engaged in a lot of welfare policies in Delhi, but he's Arvind Kejriwal is a silly goose in the sense that he has proposed policies that were so stupid that both the BJP he managed to piss off both the BJP and Congress. Like for example, he proposed a policy where you would put like the Lord Ganesha and Lord I think it was Lakshmi or something on the Indian dollar bills or on the Indian rupee bills. That pissed off the BJP because those rupee notes are used in liquor bars. They're used in bars and stuff. They're used in like liquor stores and stuff. So that's a sacrilege. And then that pissed off Congress because like, hey, what the hell are you doing putting like religious figures on notes? What the fuck are you doing? So Aam Aadmi Party are like, they're incredibly silly. It's incredibly dumb. But they're seen as like the opposition basically. They're part of the overall India opposition.
Okay, this
and they've dominated Delhi for like a long time basically.
So far the prospects for Indian prosperity don't seem too good if these guys are a part of the opposition party. All right, we'll move on from the AAP then. All right, what's up next here? Let's see in the video.
Hold on, let me see.
These are the AAP guys. Is that what it is? Vote for
Punjab.
Punjab.
AAP. So the guy with the turban, the guy with the pug is the guy in Punjab that was elected under AAP basically. So he was recently. So Punjab had state elections, I think, a year or two ago, and they elected this guy. So Aam Aadmi Party won this. He's the new chief minister, and he's the guy I think that drank pond water and like got sick from it. Let me see. Punjab CM water. Drinking polluted water.
Wait, why did he do that? To prove a point? Like
he did it just to prove that he could like that the water was clean, and he got sick from it.
Damn. Well, to be fair, Barack Obama never drank the Flint water, so he's a pussy. This guy at least drank it.
This guy, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who the guy with the broom is. I don't know who that's supposed to be.
All right, so they got the hearts out.
Also, don't ask me for Hindi translation. Okay, so the guy in the center. Yeah, I don't speak Hindi because I'm from the South and we don't speak Hindi. So the guy in the middle is Rahul Gandhi. He's basically the quote unquote. He's not the leader of the Congress party. That would be the guy to the right. That's Mallikarjun Kharge. So he's the actual like leader of the Congress Party. And had he won this election, he would have actually been the first Dalit chief minister, which, I mean, hopefully he would have been the first Dalit chief minister. We wouldn't know. But like, had he like been the prime minister, excuse me, he would have been the first, I guess, leader of the country, the first prime minister that comes from a marginalized caste background, which would have been historic because that's never happened before. It's like having the first black president in a sense. It's like a historic moment in a sense. But this guy is significantly more progressive than like Barack Obama in certain senses. Rahul Gandhi is the figurehead of the Congress Party and of the Indian National Congress. And he is the okay, so you know how like there's some people complain about nepotism in US politics?
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't he he's nepotism recipient.
Okay, his father, his grandmother, and his great-grandfather were all prime ministers.
Yeah.
His father was prime minister until he was assassinated via suicide bomb. His grandmother was prime minister until she was assassinated by her Sikh bodyguards.
Bro, is this your Kennedy? What the fuck's going on? Like, this guy's just like looking for the smoke.
This is our Kennedy, yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, I mean, so the reason his father got assassinated is, it gets into Sri Lanka stuff, but like his father sent the Indian peacekeeping forces to Sri Lanka, basically to subdue the LTTE, the tigers, right? The Tamil tigers. And the Indian peacekeeping forces ended up basically committing war crimes against the civilian Tamils, right? So, for example, they went into a hospital in Jaffna in Sri Lanka and massacred like 70 people. That's what his dad did.
I thought it was all right. I thought that was allowed. I don't know. I've been just paying attention a lot to like what's going on in the news for the past 8 months, and I thought that was cool.
I'm still working on the documentary, but like once the documentary on Sri Lanka comes out, I promise you will see so many similarities between Sri Lanka and Israel. I swear to you. Like it's insane what Sri Lanka has gotten away with, and it's insane like how similar, like what you're seeing in Gaza. I've said this on stream multiple times. What you're seeing in Gaza, I will say with 100% certainty, Israel stole that tactic from Sri Lanka. 100%. I will say that because
I read an Atlantic piece that said like sometimes killing children is allowed under international law. So
yeah, and guess who they mentioned? Guess what one of the countries they mentioned was?
I assume Sri Lanka.
Yep, it was fucking Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So this dude's dad got assassinated because via suicide bomb, because he committed war crimes in Sri Lanka. He's a war criminal. His grandmother, we talked about the Sikh genocide. So his grandmother was basically like responsible for Operation Blue Star on the Harmandir Sahib, and his great grandfather was the first prime minister of India. So this dude is like big time nepo baby. And then the guy to the left is actually one of the MVPs of this election, Akhilesh Yadav, who's also a nepo baby as well. Akhilesh Yadav is the head of the Samajwadi Party. And the Samajwadi means socialist in Hindi. No, they're not socialist. They're not socialist. Chad is gonna have to get used to the fact that like socialism means dick in this region. It doesn't. But
it also is not like, it doesn't hold the same like immediate negative connotations that it does in America. Otherwise, they wouldn't slap it on as a popular positive sentiment.
No, socialism in the subcontinent, aside from maybe Pakistan, has always been like a sort of like if you say you're socialist, people aren't gonna be like, yo, like what the fuck's wrong with you?
Right? Yeah. It's an active political party, especially in India. As far as I understand, it has like one of the largest active communist parties on the planet, right? I mean,
yeah, the CPIM is one of the largest communist parties, and Yeah, basically they're one of the largest communist parties, and chat, don't get your expectations too high about them either. Don't get your expectations high about them either. Like, uh, I think one of my chatters mentioned earlier in one of your chats.
Someone said the
I mean,
Communist
I
Party
think
in
the
West
biggest
Bengal
problem
literally
with
started doing corporate land grabs because they're not good communists.
No, that's not the reason why. So the biggest complaint about the communists, I mean, the land grabs, what do you call it? I think you're referencing the Maoists though. What led to the Maoists though? The biggest complaint about the CPIM is that, and most of the communist parties in India, is that they've always been captured by the upper castes. They've always been captured by the upper castes, and so when it comes to, especially particularly caste issues, you cannot talk about Indian politics without even mentioning caste. It's like caste is incredibly ingrained into Indian society, and caste is not the same thing as class either. And I've mentioned this before. Caste is something you're basically born with permanently, right?
Yeah.
So you are born to a particular caste. You can never change it. So as improbable as it is, you can always become like a business owner. You can always change your relationship to the means of production, no matter how improbable it is, right? It's always a theoretical possibility. But caste is something that no matter what you're born to, like if you're born into if you're born into a Dalit caste, like the most oppressed caste in India, there's just gonna be certain areas that you cannot go to and you cannot be vocal. Otherwise, you'll be like beaten up, or you'll be, like it's in very similar. It's You can kind of think of it as very similar to, it's the closest thing India has to race in a sense. That's
Yeah.
how like
I forget which there was a political scientist that made that comparison specifically talking about the caste structure and how and its similarities to like the American racial segregation in the Jim Crow South.
I know who you're talking about, but I forgot her name. But there's a guy called Suraj Jangde who's part of who's like a huge intellectual here in the United States, who talks about like who actually is like working with African American studies professors to sort of like bridge the gap between the two, right? So like, and it's also like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was like the framer of the Constitution. He's the guy who made the Constitution of India, who comes from a Dalit caste himself, who came from Dalit caste himself. He was actually, I believe, he was actually in correspondences with W.E.B. Du Bois, actually. So he was actually like, he was pen pals with like Du Bois and stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't the caste structure also accelerated? Not, I mean, there was historical basis for it, but it accelerated after or during colonialism, like colonial occupation as well.
So what happened under the British was the British rigidified the caste system. So what happened was when the British came to India, um, so the Brahmins who occupy like the topmost part of the caste structure, they were the ones that occupied like all of the major like administrative positions, the clerical positions under the British, right? And so what happened was, I mean, the caste census was, really done under the British. So that's what led to sort of the inculcation of caste consciousness in India. But what happened was, it was a lot like this idea of like Hindu Muslim was actually a funny thing is that even the idea of Hinduism being a united religion was also like a weirdly British creation. It didn't exist before the British came. Like the very concept of Hinduism as you and everyone in chat knows it today, that didn't exist until the British came. And that's because basically the Brahmins, who were the caste collaborators with the British, um, they were the ones that basically told the British, we have this religion called Hinduism, and everyone in India practices this religion. And they basically used the religious texts that they wrote, the Manusmriti, the Dharma Shastras, and all of these books that they wrote. They presented them to the British, and the British basically started calling everyone that wasn't a Muslim or a Christian a Hindu. And so you had all of these different castes, like that had nothing to do with each other, that had very different practices, that were now basically immediately following the same practices because they were legally enforced by the British under the Brahmins. So they were following Brahminical practices under the British suddenly. And this is because the Brahmins actually collaborated with the British to create this idea of Hinduism and basically enforce it upon everyone. So caste actually, in that sense, became even more rigidified under the British, right? The Brahmins have always occupied positions, like the Brahmin castes have always occupied positions, even before the British. They've always had like a monopoly on basically education because the Brahmin, I guess, class, the group of castes, they're considered the scholarly or priest class, basically. And they had the sole right to basically read and write in Sanskrit, which is the liturgical language of the Hindu texts, right? So they were the ones that had the sole right to actually read that stuff, right? So it was actually under the Brahmins and the British collaborating together that rigidified the caste structure. Now, the irony is that later on, what would happen is a lot of the Hindu nationalists that are saying like "fuck the British," the British imposed all these things on us. They created Christians. They would actually quote unquote turn against the British later on, but it was actually like the caste system rigidified under the British. And in fact, the whole concept of a unified Hinduism was created by a collaboration between the Brits and the Brahmins in India, basically.
All right, so let's get back to modern day, present day Indian politics. So we covered these guys, the opposition.
Akhilesh Yadav is the MVP guy, right?
And then
so
we have these dudes. Who are these guys?
That is YS. That is, go back. I know the guy in the middle. That is, I think that is RJD. I think that is Tejasvi Yadav. I think
they got a cow back there.
I think the guy in the middle is supposed to be YS already. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Lalu and Tejasvi.
Yeah, Lalu Yadav, Tejasvi Yadav. Yeah, it's Lalu Yadav and Tejasvi Yadav. So those are the two dominant. So that party is the dominant party in Bihar, basically, RJD. So yeah, Lalu and Tejasvi Yadav. So that's the dominant party in the state of Bihar, basically.
They represent a dairy farmer caste.
Yeah, Yadav is an OBC caste. So Yadavan is basically like a cattle farmer caste. And it's not like again, when I talk about caste, you've probably seen like the pyramid of like different castes that you've seen before: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It's the food pyramid, right? So that's not what I mean by caste. Within each and every single one of those categories, there are even further like subdivisions, right? And those subdivisions are what we call caste, right? So Yadav is a specific kind of caste within, I believe, either Kshatriya or Shudra, basically one of those two.
Bro, that's too many things to pay. That's too many things to pay adherence to. That's crazy.
No, it's advanced racism, basically. Yes, it's advanced. Yeah. So these are the dominant parties of Bihar, basically. This is the dominant people of Bihar. These guys are like, they don't like Modi. These guys hate Modi. They're not the biggest fans of Modi. They're kind of like, the best way you can describe these guys is they're kind of like working class, like Appalachian dudes in a sense. They're kind of the equivalent of like Appalachian dudes in like India that are like weirdly like pro working class, I guess. Like there's no real way to describe what these guys are basically like, but yeah, RJD is like Muslim plus Yadav vote base. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on from these dudes. This lady TMC.
That is Mamta Banerjee. So that is Mamta Banerjee. She's the leader, or she's like the current chief minister of West Bengal. And Mamta Banerjee sucks. Mamta Banerjee actually she sucks. She's almost no different from Modi. She basically got into power through two mechanisms. One, she ran basically on entirely anti-communist shit. But the catch to that is like the Communist Party in West Bengal were basically kind of thugs. So there were like atrocities that were committed by the Communist Party, but she kind of basically weaponized that and said like, well, communism as a whole is bad. Like left-wing politics is bad. Elect me. That's basically like how she got into power. And now like she's basically like she's kind of become a thug in and of herself. Like now, like the BJP is vying for her seat in West Bengal. It's not anti-communist; it's an anti-communist party. Yeah. So she's not like again like you have to understand like the communist parties in India are not like the best like they're not like the best representations of like left-wing politics in India. Let's just put it that way. Like there were like in West Bengal especially there were atrocities that the Communist Party committed against like the most oppressed castes in India. So she basically ran on like the political violence that the Communist parties did in West Bengal basically.
Okay. All right. And then I think those are I mean and then we have these guys.
I think
that's Modi.
That's Modi. That's Modi. Sahab Changasi Bharat mein.
Who's
That's Amit Shah, Home Minister, the guy that's walking around. And the thing that's on his head is 400 like Char Saupar, which is a campaign slogan basically saying they're going to get over 400 the NDA alliance is going to get 400 seats. They're going to get way above like 400 seats. And there's like what was it 543 seats in parliament. Something like that, something to that effect. And these guys were parading around saying like, "Oh, we're going to get more than 400 seats, boys. We're going to get more than 400 seats." And I was like
they couldn't even get the 272 seats.
No, so the NDA got like 290 something, but they couldn't get above. Yeah, the BJP themselves couldn't get the majority.
Yeah.
So that means their power is significantly weakened. It's a huge win. It's a huge L for the BJP. And I think the guy on the left is Nadda, I think. I think it's Nadda or I forgot. It's one of the other guys in the BJP. I don't remember.
So what does that mean for the way that they administer going forward? Like, what does that mean for the prospect of governance? Like, they don't have this popular mandate. They lost the majority. Does that mean that they need to like set up? I mean, what does that look like for Indian Parliament? What does that look like for passing bills?
So
what are the broadest, most important? And lastly, what are the broadest, most important like policy positions that will change as a consequence of this?
I mean, the biggest. So, like, the most important thing to take away from this is that the BJP themselves don't have as much leverage in the coalition anymore because they're not the majority. And so one of the so right now, what's currently up in the air is whether Modi will even return as prime minister. So we don't even know for sure whether Modi's actually going to become the next prime minister or whether it's Nadda or it's going to be not Nadda. What was it? I forgot his name already. There's another guy in the BJP that they're floating to be potentially the next PM. Another thing that's also like there's a party called the Telugu Desam Party that is part of the BJP coalition that's now pressuring the BJP to get rid of the guy with the glasses. There's a guy that's texting me. No, not Yogi Adityanath. RSS is hoping that Yogi Adityanath gets in, but if they make Yogi the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, the state that just handed BJP the fat ass out, not Gadkari, thank you. Someone said Gadkari. They're planning on like it seems like some of the coalition members want Nitin Gadkari to be the next PM, but no. So what's happening is that the other parties within BJP's coalition are going to exert a lot more pressure. The other thing is that a lot of the Hindu-Muslim, mandate shit that they've been like, I guess the biggest indicator of this is that they built the Ayodhya Ram temple over the remains of the Babri Masjid that the RSS and the VHP destroyed back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And basically that was the BJP's ult, right? That was they basically ulted and said, "Hey, like we got like we built the temple. We did it. We did what we set out to do. We destroyed the mosque and we built the temple." And what happened was the people of Uttar Pradesh, especially, what's funny is that the town that temple was built, like Ayodhya, the district, the electoral district went to Congress. They basically the town where that temple was built basically told BJP to fuck off, right? So basically, the long story short of what's going on here is that the BJP is actually getting weaker. I called
So
this election I was legit. So when I was going into this election, everyone was telling me yo, they're gonna get 300 easy, 300 easy, and I basically said no. Hold on a second. I basically said, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Wait, because UP is probably they're gonna probably hemorrhage votes in UP. What did nerds say? What did my mods say? You need to look at regional politics to fully understand Indian politics. Federalism can oppose Hindu nationalism. Listen to Indian leftists and the many brave, brilliant journalists and independent media. Yes, if you want to learn, okay. Another thing that actually really pissed me off about this entire election season was that every major news outlet outside of India was basically treating the BJP as a foregone conclusion. Of course they're going to increase their majority. Of course they're going to win. And I was like, you fuckers do not know what you're talking about. Al Jazeera, DW, CNA, CNN, fucking everyone outside of
they
India.
were also, I think they were responding to the exit. I mean, not even just the exit polls, but just polling up until that moment, right? Because it seemed like
if you read the polling, if you actually read the polling going into the election, you would know that BJP was actually set to lose seats, especially in Uttar Pradesh, right? They were actually they're because one of my chatters, and shout out to Finn Peanut in the chat, right? One of my chatters lives in that particular region, and he was telling us for the past 3 weeks, the reason is that also you can't beat fascism by outflanking them from the right. The opposition gained ground by focusing on caste issues and promising radical progressive voices. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how I think Congress got this win, right? How they got this basically win. So 3 things. So one was the electoral bond scandal. And what happened was basically the BJP passed a law a long time ago. I think it was 2017, basically allowing anyone to, buy bonds from the Central Bank of India, from the SBI, the State Bank of India, to sell to donate to their favorite political candidate, right? Earlier this year, what happened was the Supreme Court said that was unconstitutional, which is a surprising move from the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court was mostly asleep on the job when BJP was running amok, especially when they dismissed half of parliament. But the Supreme Court basically came in and they basically said, hey, no, that's unconstitutional. And State Bank of India, you have to disclose who gave what to who. And what was discovered was that all the largest companies in India donated to BJP, and the BJP was by far the richest. It was by and large. It was what was the figure? It was thousands of crores, thousands times tens of millions of rupees, basically. That's how rich the BJP is. It is an insanely rich party, even more so than the other.
Wait, you mean it? Are you telling me that capital owners and big business was aligned with the fascist party?
Crazy, I know, right?
By overwhelming numbers. I say it ain't so. That seems so shocking.
I know, it is shocking. But so once that was discovered, it was a huge scandal. The mainstream media tried to block it out. They basically did an entire blockout on that story. But it was too late because everyone was talking about it on Twitter. Everyone was talking about it on WhatsApp. And you had normal individuals, you had normal Indians that were saying yo, what the hell is going on here? So that's number one. It was the electoral bond scandal, which I think led to Congress picking up momentum. The second thing was the Congress Manifesto. The Congress Manifesto is quite possibly one of the most progressive manifestos I have seen in a while from a mainstream political party. They heavily leaned on social justice narratives. They heavily leaned on extending reservation across the board, which is affirmative action, caste-based affirmative action in India. They heavily leaned on that. they also promised to do things like restore statehood to Jammu and Kashmir. They basically it's a lot, but like everything that we read was basically incredibly progressive. It was did you see CPIM's? No, we read CPIM's manifesto on stream as well. Like Congress, like for Congress standards, it was actually very good. It was like it might as well have been like written by the DMK. And you can tell like the DMK and the leader of Congress had some level of influence over that. So it was one of the most like social justice oriented, welfare oriented, like social democratic, uh, you know, manifestos you've ever seen. It was basically like, oh, we need to also introduce a wealth tax. We need to introduce income tax. We need to introduce all of these social safety nets to make sure that um, everyone's asking. Okay, I'll answer. The leader of the DMK, the party that's running my home state, is a guy called Stalin.
Oh yeah, that's
Muka Stalin.
yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, there's. It seems like there's a lot of dudes named Stalin in India.
Stalin and Lenin are also very common names, but they're like the double-edged sword of that is that there are people in India named Hitler. So there's that.
Yeah.
That's the double-edged sword to that. So like, yes, we have people named Stalin, we have people named Lenin, but we also have, Muka Stalin, Muttivel Karunanidhi Stalin. Yep.
Like his father, Stalin has publicly disclosed that he's an atheist, but he's also said that he is not against any religious beliefs.
His wife is like a religious Hindu or whatever. Isn't Kerala communist? It's like I said, communists in India is basically social democratic. That's what you can take away.
Well,
like
for chatters that are wondering, that's genuinely how it is all around the world. Any active communist party is at the very best going to be social democratic.
Right.
Like, there are very few active. During the Cold War, there were a lot of. I mean, I can't speak for Indian politics specifically, but most active communist parties were comprised of what you would expect, either peasant class populations, or rather like rural area working class people, and also a lot of very well-educated college students. And that created a lot of division in many of the countries that had active communist parties that basically sowed division. There was an interest in people that wanted to go in the direction of revisionism, and others who said no, that we have to be revolutionary and maintain like a vanguardist revolutionary attitude. So that usually ended up with the more revolutionary front, or Maoist parties basically losing power completely and being suppressed violently by the states, by individual states, with only the revisionist parties standing, and they've turned into like feckless institutionalists for the most part, and are social democratic at best, in the best scenarios.
So in India's case, almost all the communist parties are, like I said, the biggest problem is that they're run by the upper caste. They've always been captured by the upper caste. And so they, even today, like the biggest, like the CPIM has always been controlled by Brahmins, and in Kerala specifically, it's continued to be controlled by a dominant caste called the Nayars and the Nambudris. The Nambudri Brahmins, as well as Iravas, are not technically, I mean, as far as, it's not as dominant as like Nayars. Oh, and Syrian Christians. So every religion in India has caste, by the way, for the record. It's not just like Hindus that practice caste. Muslims and Christians also practice caste as well.
What the fuck?
Sikhs, yeah. Yes, there are different castes of Christians as well in India. So like in Kerala is a great example of this, because in Kerala, the high caste Christians, quote unquote, are called Syriac Christians. because they, or St. Thomas Christians, because they claim descent from like modern, like Assyrians or whatever, like the Assyrian Empire or something, where it's like they claim descent from that, and they claim descent from like the very first people, like the St. Thomas the Apostle, basically. So they're like, oh, we're the original Christians of the subcontinent, and the lower, I mean, the marginalized caste Christians of India are more recent converts to like Protestantism or Catholicism. So that's generally how the it's not even Sikhism, which is a religion that most ostensibly denounces caste. They practice caste. Every religion, aside from maybe Buddhism in India, Buddhism is probably the one exception to that rule, practices caste. Every single one of them. That's how pervasive it is. And so the upper caste Christians of Kerala have also been like dominant in the Communist Party as well. And so if you actually look at the living situation of like the Adivasi, the indigenous people of Kerala, yes, it's as delayed autistic Guppy says. Yes, that's basically
one of
where
Jesus' apostles died in India, St. Thomas, and they claim descent from him and not British missionaries.
Yeah, that's the main source of like beef between the St. Thomas Christians and the other Christians. It's that no,
like
we're the
cope.
OGs because we're the OGs because we actually converted from St. Thomas, right? Rather than the British. Unlike you low caste, like unlike you people that converted under the British. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. It's ridiculous. That's the level of like beef. You cannot escape caste no matter what religion you convert to. If you convert, like there's like Dalit Muslims do exist. Like an example of this is that there are Muslims, quote unquote, Saids and Ashrafs and whatnot, right? Like they claim descent directly from so the upper caste Muslims basically say they're directly descendant from the Prophet Muhammad, right? And you guys, you low caste Muslims are more recent converts, right? So you guys cannot pray in our mosques. Right?
Wait, someone said Dalit Jews also exist? No way.
No, I don't think that's. I think that's made up. I think that's made up. I don't think that is a thing. Dalit Jews don't exist. I mean, Jewish people do exist in India, but they're such a tiny community. Like, there's like no Jewish people in India. But yeah, so Stalin is like the leader of. Stalin, ironically, I don't know about that. I've never seen anything.
Kohin Jews were Dalit.
No, Kochi. So Kochi is a city in Kerala. So Cochin is a city in Kerala. That's where they're from. So there's like Fort Kochi and Kochi. So this is the largest city in Kerala, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pure madness. But getting back to the so basically getting back to the election, long story short, like everyone in India is basically celebrating. Everyone is loving the fact that, like, except for Sangis. Sangis are like I have like I've bookmarked, or I've like there's a thread of people literally crying today about like BJP's I guess win or whatever. About Congress's like.
Are those like the MAGA the MAGA of BJP? Like,
yeah, they are. Let me see
like the most diehard Modi heads.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like BJP RSS are straight Nazis. Like, they're not, like, you can't even say that, like, there's not even like the plausible deniability of like, oh, they're just right wing and they're not like straight up national. No, they're nationalists. They're Nazis.
So the question I have for you there is actually, like, I agree with you, obviously, and they do act out on those incredibly violent desires on a regular frequency. But what I will never understand is why the Western media, despite the fact that they are also a brown country, refuse to, because normally they would be more critical of brown countries that are not directly in the sphere of Western interests. they regularly like just talk about Modi as just a regular old politician, and I would even say that like a lot of the articles I read talked about how shocking it was that he couldn't maintain a majority, but for the most part, talk about the opposition party not as a victory, but like as the opposition party's achievements, not as a victory specifically, but you know that they're coping. Like even the Associated Press, in their coverage, let me see if I can find it here. That means Modi will need the support of other parties in his coalition. They will rely heavily on the goodwill of its allies, which makes them critical players who can expect to extract a pound of flesh, both in terms of policymaking as far as government formation.
Okay, there's a chat that I want to immediately there's a chatter I want to zero in on, Lyum, because they're the anti-China, the West sees a neoliberal India as a counterweight to China. To an extent, that's true, but I don't think that's the reason why that you see this kind of coverage from the West. I've been following like the West coverage of India long enough to kind of understand like what their perspective is. And the thing is, originally, so here's something that chat probably doesn't know about. Originally, Modi was banned from the United States. So when, especially in the wake of the Gujarat riots, the State Department actually banned Modi from entering the country because he was a fascist, because he was that much of a liability.
Well, to be fair,
right?
so was Ben-Gvir originally on the terror watch list.
They only lifted the ban on him after, they only lifted the ban on him after he became prime minister. And to be fair, there have been like documentaries from the West, especially the BBC documentary. There's a BBC documentary that was actually banned by India that really went into sort of what Modi's role in the anti-Muslim pogroms that happened, that he basically let happen in Gujarat. And India basically banned that documentary. And the BBC, not the Anand Patwar then, but the BBC actually made a documentary on Modi during 2002. And so Western journalists were significantly more aggressive towards Modi. So the history between the US and India, I think the coverage that you're seeing right now, it's not just limited to like AP or any of the outlets in the United States. I think it's genuinely because there's a level of ignorance. I think there genuinely is a level of ignorance from the West on like ground level Indian politics, because there are people that are like capable of like, there are like Channel 4 has done very good investigative reporting in India, especially in places like Mizoram, in the subcontinent in general. Like the one of the most, I guess, not just in India, but in the subcontinent as a whole, one of the foremost documentaries is Sri Lanka's Killing Fields, and that was a BBC documentary, right? So I think that what I've noticed is that they are capable of actually doing the right level of criticism. Not Mizoram, sorry, Manipur, not Mizoram. They're capable of it. I just always, the conclusion that I've come to is that I think there's a genuine disconnect from that sort of wing of these agencies and the wing of the agencies that do this kind of reporting. Because
I do still feel like, I mean, look, this is what I was looking for. In the face of the surprising drop in BJP support, challengers claimed that they had also won a victory of sorts, with the main opposition Congress party saying the election had been a moral and political loss for Modi, which is, I mean, it literally is, but it almost feels like it's downplaying it. But beyond that, the thing I'm trying to get to is that I do believe that as India is a massive emerging market with cheap labor, and is seen as like infinitely more accessible than China, and not seen as like a dominant force in the global marketplace that could like also have political consequences for the West in the same way that like China has been able to emerge and develop itself. That's the counterweight that they perceive India as, I feel like, Western leadership in general, and that's the reason why they like play nice with Modi, even though I think that perspective of like the U.S. view, like I said, I think
you're right in that the U.S. State Department definitely views India as a counterweight to China in that sense. I definitely agree with that. I just don't see that being connected to the. I don't see that connection with the reporting is all. I think there's a. I think the reporting is more to do with the just the sheer level of ignorance and how hard it is to basically penetrate the Indian reporting. Like it's very hard to penetrate and actually understand like what is going on in India. It's not easy, right? I think it's I definitely well it's kind of I have mixed feelings on that perspective. I don't think I would be immediately ready to chalk it up to this is like the US this is specifically by design. This is specifically um like this is you know, India's our proxy in the region. India's more amenable to US interests. I agree with all of that, but I think I just don't see that being reflected directly in the reporting. Because the thing is, the US was also kind of friendly with Congress as well, right? And Congress is also ultimately a neoliberal party as well. So the thing is, like, I don't think the US genuinely care because, like, even if Congress were to be elected, they're still going to enact neoliberal policies, anyways. They're still like going to enact like they're still going to build like Apple factories in India for sure, and they're going to be um they're still going to be amenable to US interests for sure. So I just don't see I think so what if you're getting at like I think you're saying that the US specifically favors Modi. I'm not able to see that. I'm just not able to see that the US specifically favors Modi over someone like Congress. That's
So they're
basically what I'm like I'm not
so
able to see that
so they're
connection
just
there.
chilling. Like they're saying they would rather they don't mind Modi's pogroms because
They
it's
don't
just
care is what I'm saying. Yeah, they don't care either way. They don't necessarily care like whether Congress in a sense that yeah, they don't necessarily care either way is what I would say. I think even if Congress won, I don't think like the US would necessarily care because they know like because of their experience with Manmohan Singh being incredibly neoliberal, um, I would still say like even if Congress were to take power, like they would still be friendly with the U.S. He said he would advance India's defense production, boost jobs for youth, as bullshit.
raise
Um,
exports and help farmers among other things.
help
So
farmers, my ass.
yeah, so that's the
Help
thing I wanted to
farmers,
ask you
my
about. Like, what
fucking
are
ass.
the
He lied to the farmers.
yeah? So what are the
Oh,
top
I have
level
an update on the
things?
farmers protest, by the way.
What are the
So,
top level things that they like were advocating for? BJP was advocating for aside from like killing Muslims and stuff, which seems like
uh,
and instilling Hindutva supremacy.
uh, I mean, killing Sikhs is another one.
That's
Uh,
yeah, oh yeah, totally.
killing
That's
Sikhs.
true.
Another thing that they pursued Uh, another thing that they have repeatedly tried to pursue is the imposition of Hindi over the entire country. That's another like quote unquote culture war issue. Um, if you go to Tamil Nadu, basically we've been uh if you go to Tamil Nadu, it's been a long-standing issue, especially among the South and the central government, but the BJP has really been they accelerated it. There's been a long-standing issue between the central government and especially the southern states and the northeastern states, but especially my home state of Tamil Nadu, the state that Stalin runs, that
Mm-hmm.
um, the central government has always wanted to make everyone speak Hindi. Um, and the South and especially Tamil Nadu has basically said, no, we would much rather speak English than speak Hindi. Get the
Wait,
fuck out of here.
explain it to chat. By the way, when you say like these regions, you should probably mention the population size as well for people to understand a little bit better. Because like from
Mhm.
the American mind, they're thinking like, oh, how many people could that be?
So my
100,000.
home state is roughly 70 million people.
Yeah. So like,
My home state is 70 million people, roughly speaking. So my home city is like 10 mil. I'm from a city. I was born in a city called Chennai. Um, yeah, like I was born in a city called Chennai. That's like 10 million people, right? Yeah, it is a huge like. Yeah, they've always so we're talking huge populations here. The state the biggest like state in India, Uttar Pradesh, is 200 million people, 250 some odd million people. For context, that is nearly 3/4 of the United States population. That one state alone
Yeah.
has nearly 3/4 of the population of the US. Right? So the fact that the BJP lost big there is huge. The fact that they lost they're not the majority party in UP, at least in the Lok Sabha, is fucking huge, right? It's like the biggest devastating blow. But the thing is, like, I think one thing is a lot of people think that India, like a lot of people kind of say India is diverse and they just kind of like leave it at that. But I think the way you should look at India is that it's basically a patchwork colonial state with like hundreds of different languages, hundreds of different groups of people, right? Uh, Even like within one state, there will be like different languages, especially like indigenous languages that are spoken, right? That's how like obscenely diverse it is, right? So, and like if you go from state to state, especially in the South, in the southern parts of the country, they'll have like different state level official languages. So like they'll have signs. Like the signs will change language, right? As soon as you enter the border of a different state. So my home state of Tamil Nadu fiercely has like been on the forefront of resisting Hindi imposition, which is like the central government making everyone in Tamil Nadu may learn Hindi as like a mother tongue basically, or like learn Hindi in schools, right? So Tamil Nadu has been resisting that for decades. And the BJP has tried to accelerate that even further because part of Hindutva, Hindu nationalism is this concept of Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. That is, Hindus are one ethnic group that speak one language, aka Hindi, High Hindi specifically, Shuddh Hindi, which is the very Sanskritized version of Hindi, because Urdu is the other version of it. It's this Hindi and Urdu are the same language.
Don't people in Pakistan also speak Urdu?
Urdu is the same thing as Hindi. It's the same language. And Indians and Pakistanis in the chat can feel free to get mad at me, but I'm literally right about this. It's like, and I say this because like, let me put it to you this way: North India and Pakistan culturally have more in common with each other than North India has with South India. So like a guy in North India has far more in common with a guy in Pakistan. A guy from Uttar Pradesh has far more culturally in common with a guy from like Karachi or like Punjab or like Lahore than either one of those dudes have with me. Right? And it's because one, the language is super different. We don't like, in a weird sense, the language is like more similar. How do I yeah, it's not even different dialects, it's the same language. But my language, Tamil, right, weirdly has like the logic for the language, it's kind of like Japanese in a sense, right? It's like the way you would learn Japanese is the same way you would learn my mother tongue. It's very similar to that, right? So it's totally different. It's way different, right? So we've been resisting Hindi imposition for a while, but the BJP has been trying to like impose that language on us, and they like the mainstream media, which is like controlled by the BJP effectively, they basically hash this issue like every 2 years or every 2 months or so, saying like, oh, maybe everyone should speak Hindi. Maybe we need a national language or some nonsense. And the funny thing is, Hindi is not a language that is natively spoken by more than 20% of the population.
I was gonna say, even like as far as I understand, like the type of nationalism Modi has brought into power, it's even in this article that says like it was a fringe it was a fringe movement that is now, you know, I guess more popular.
In the early 1900s, yeah, it was. Like the same movement that bred Modi was the same movement that assassinated Gandhi. Right? So a lot of the guys that are in Modi's party will actually like celebrate like Gandhi's assassin. So like a lot of the people, so a guy called Nathuram Godse, who's part of the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Sangh Parivar overall organization, he was the guy that assassinated Gandhi because Gandhi wasn't like Hindu nationalist, right? He wasn't like a nationalist enough. So yeah, it was an underground movement for a little. It was actually outright banned. RSS was outright banned under Vallabhbhai Patel, right? And then that ban was revoked later on. Yeah, these guys. We call these guys chaddis, which means underwear. We call these guys underwear all the time. Hold on a second. Does any one of my chatters? Oh wait, I got a funny clip from these guys to show you. Do any one of these guys? Oh yeah. There's a video on Hindu nationalism done by my friend
3
Rohan
people
Davis.
blow themselves up.
Yeah, fantastic video. This is I don't know if you have time to watch all of this, but like
No, it's an hour
it's
long.
way too long, but like this is the best like intro to Hindu nationalism I've ever seen. And he's done by a friend of the show, fellow friend of the show, fellow South Indian, Rohan Davis. Yeah, chaddis is it means underwear. There's a clip of the RSS like doing a training exercise, and it's the most like ridiculous shit you've ever seen. It's like a classic clip. If any one of my chatters has it, like go ahead and show it. But like, yes, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh.
I'm seeing some stuff here in the 1920s. Significant deterioration in relations between Hindus and Muslims. The Muslim masses were mobilized by the Khilafat movement, opposing dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire by the Allies, and some demanded the reinstatement of the Caliphate in Turkey. Mahatma Gandhi made an alliance with the movement for conducting his own non-cooperation movement. Gandhi aimed to create the Hindu-Muslim unity in forming the alliance. However, the alliance saw a common enemy, not a common enmity. When the government refused to entertain demands of the Khilafatists, this would cause some Muslims to turn their anger towards the Hindus.
They're talking about the Mapla rebellion in Kerala, basically. The name of their friend's video, it's called Understanding Hindutva or something like that. Yeah, wait, what is this?
Is this the RSS training?
Oh yeah, this is it. This is RSS.
This is like Proud Boys shit.
It's even more embarrassing than Proud Boys. No, there's another clip that I'm thinking of, not this one. It's the one with the crazy like dramatic music. If anyone has that, that's the RSS.
What the fuck? Wait, do these guys praise Hitler?
Yeah, they do.
That's fucking
it's
hilarious.
Do. Like, so there's a difference between a lot of Indians who just don't understand anything about World War II. Like when I was in Chennai, like a little while ago, I was in.
Why are the shorts so big? Is that why you call them underwears?
Yes, that's why we call them underwear.
It's such a big ass fucking. The shorts are so large.
Yeah, that they stole the uniforms, by the way, from Mussolini, Mussolini, basically from the Italian fascists.
The Ottoman Empire was legally the caliphate of all Sunni Muslims. The way the Allies dealt with the Ottoman Empire after World War I angered a lot of Muslims in India, Gandhi too, and solidified their desire for self-determination moving forward to protect Muslim rights. Yeah, you're right. At World War I, they did the Ottomans dirty. I'm glad that we can all agree.
There's one video that I'm looking for. It's got like the epic music where it's like the dramatic music. It's not the Pink Panther shit, but like this one is also hilarious. Like they also like it's just a bunch of uncles. Like these guys are a bunch of uncles that are doing like Hitler salutes and shit. Oh wait, is this it?
What are they training for? Like avoiding snakes? I don't understand.
No, that's not it. Oh, found it. I think this is it.
Or did you
Here we
send
go. This is it. I got you.
Did you send it in the chat?
No, I'm sending it to you in DM.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. My friend got it finally.
what is he doing?
I don't know.
I don't understand what mobilization and movement, like what training. First of all, they're all like fat uncles. What the fuck is that? Like, there's no.
They think they're the superior race that needs to defend themselves from Muslims. That's what's going on.
The parallels here with like American gravy seals is glaring. I mean, it's just
it's a 1-to-1. You can literally plop it and it's exactly the same. If
it's
you keep
awesome.
going,
The only difference is they just don't have guns, you know, because India is not free.
Yeah, they have to go to Punjab for guns. Yeah, this is also stupid. This is, I don't know what the hell they're doing here. We've watched it like a couple of times on my stream. Yeah, that's the big one.
Okay, there's no way this is like, what the fuck's this guy doing?
Good question.
He can't be thinking he looks cool doing this. Like, there's no.
He does. He does think that.
No, the rollerblading special forces are cool. Like, that's actually dope. I mean, it's not the most effective way of catching people, but like, still, at least like they're doing something physical. These guys are just like playing duck, duck, goose.
I mean, that is basically like, that's, they also like weirdly target like school children and shit. Cause I know a guy that, that went to one of these like, I guess like RSS meetups or whatever, that without even knowing it, because like he grew up going to like one of these like RSS like meetups without even knowing it. And it only dawned on him like much later that, oh shit, this is RSS. But yeah, no, these guys are actually like, in all seriousness, no, these guys are actually like quite dangerous. They are the fuckers that are running the country. And they have like a huge level of influence. And the parent organization of the RSS, the Sangh Parivar, is the same organization that the the BJP, the VHP, which is a different, or the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and beneath the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, there's a group called the Bajrang Dal, and the Bajrang Dal, which is the army of Hanuman, they're the ones that are doing the lynchings. They're the ones that are doing the cow lynchings. Yeah, these dorks have power in India, and that's what makes them so dangerous. And they are genuinely dangerous, and these are the fuckers that are doing the lynchings. They've not only burned mosques, right? They've burned churches as well. Yeah, these are terrorists, for the record, guys. These are terrorists.
Dude, right? This is extremely Israel shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is very like, especially in Odisha, yeah. It's pure nonsense. Like these guys are like, they have an unprecedented level of power, and it is a bit terrifying to say the least. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Like what kind of bullshit that
when it came to non-Hindu religions, the view of Golwalkar, who once supported Hitler's creation of a supreme race by suppression of minorities.
He's actually, I think, the first or second leader of the RSS. He's a huge deal, unfortunately.
On minorities was that of extreme intolerance. In a 1998 magazine article, some RSS and BJP members were said to have distanced themselves from Golwalkar's views, though not entirely.
The non-Hindu people of Hindustan must either adopt Hindu culture and languages and must learn. So you'll notice the glorification of the Hindu race and culture. So that touches upon an incredibly important point about what Hindutva really is at its very core. It's a racial ideology. So these guys view Muslims, Christians, and they view like other religions as racially different from them.
Right? What about white people? Like, is there like anti-white sentiment? Maybe we can get the American racists to be upset about this.
Uh, yes, they're kind of okay. So it's a bit complicated because so a great example is going back to the Hindi imposition stuff, right? So this is a great example of where these Nazis in India weaponize anti-imperialist talking points to further their own fascism, because they'll say like the demand from South India to basically use English as a link language for all Indians is a British thing, right? They'll say like, oh, like I've had people in my mentions and comments be like, oh, I didn't know your grandfather was British. I didn't know your grandfather was white. So why do you want to speak English so bad? You fucking sepoy. Sepoy is like soldier for the British, like you British bootlicker or whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
So I've had people call me that before. And so they use anti-imperialist talking points and they use like they often do rail against white people. In fact, there was a guy going around, I think even in like I think there's a guy even in like Ugopnik's chat.
Oh my God. Wait, hold on. This is hilarious. Before World War II, RSS leaders admired Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. They took inspiration, as we talked about. But the RSS stance changed during the war. The organization firmly supported the British war effort against Hitler and the Axis powers. The RSS leaders were supportive of the formation of Jewish state of Israel. And he admired the Jews for maintaining their religion, culture, and language. Dude, I swear to God, fascism is the closest you can get to monolithic understanding.
No. So here's the funniest thing. So Savarkar, who is the godfather of Hindu nationalism, right? He was so in certain areas of India, I mean, among Sanghis, obviously, and I guess among some liberals in India, they view Savarkar as like a freedom fighter. But if you actually look at what Savarkar, I'll type his name, this guy. Savarkar, this guy. So if you actually Google what this guy thought of the British, right, that's Hedgewar, not that guy, but I texted you the name.
Yeah, I'm Googling.
Yeah, this guy. So Savarkar is like the godfather of like Hindu nationalism, right? And this guy was like the biggest British bootlicker. Yeah, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. I don't know how to pronounce his name because I'm not Marathi, but Savarkar is he's the godfather of Hindu nationalism, right? He basically he was a huge bootlicker of the British. Once he got thrown in jail in Kalapani in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, he actually started bootlicking the British. He basically started saying like, oh, by the like, just kidding. Like, we don't actually want to rebel against you. Us Hindus, listen, we just want to establish a Hindu state. We love you. If you let me go, we'll serve you in the best possible way. We'll serve you guys. Savarkar was a literal collaborator of the British. Like, he literally, there's a clip of me reading what Savarkar had to say, and it's me making like dick sucking noises, but that's a different story. But yeah, he was like a huge bootlicker of the British, basically. And yeah, he's a huge bootlicker of the British. And so all the Hindu nationalists, it's literally within their history to bootlick the colonial powers. And it's like I said, the very concept of a unified Hindu religion didn't exist until the British came to India, right? There were people that had different beliefs, that had different like animistic beliefs and different traditional beliefs and stuff, right? And there were people that were following like Brahminical beliefs to some level across India. So there were shared beliefs. But it wasn't until the British came when, you know, what you guys know as Hinduism came to be, right? It wasn't until the British came when it wasn't until the British basically came to India that the idea of a unified Hindu religion was formed, basically.
He was a big supporter of Hitler's anti-Jewish policy.
Yep.
In 1939, he deemed that Germans and the Jews could not be regarded as a nation. In the same year, he compared Indian Muslims with the Jews of Germany by saying, India Muslims on the whole are more inclined to identify themselves and their interests with Muslims outside of India than Hindus who live next door, like Jews in Germany.
Yep. Muslims in
Wait,
both
but then he
Sri
also,
Lanka.
bro, in 1941, Savarkar supported Jews resettling their fatherland of Israel. These guys love fascism, no matter who's doing it.
Bingo.
It's crazy. They're just, they are, it's like the grandchildren of the Nazis marching for Israel. It's like non-denominational support for fascism unconditionally. They're like, listen, Jews, if they're in Germany, you know, Holocaust, very cool. Jews, if it's Israel and they're doing a Zionist fascist project, then very cool. We like it. Like they all, he also celebrated the establishment of an independent Jewish state in Palestine on moral as well as political grounds, while adding that the Jewish people bear no political ill will towards Hinduism.
Yep.
Jesus. Okay.
It remains unknown whether Savarkar withdrew his support for Nazi Germany after the Holocaust.
After the Holocaust became common knowledge, however, on 15th of January 1961, he had spoken favorably of Hitler's Nazism against Nehru's cowardly democracy.
Nehru, by the way, is Rahul Gandhi's great-grandfather. It's that guy.
Nice.
Yeah, so these guys have been a menace in India for a very, very long time. And these are the guys that assassinated, Mahatma Gandhi, right? Hinduism is a religion, a colonial era project in the oppressor caste in the British. It's basically Brahmanism absorbing all faiths and deities. Yes, it's a bit complicated to get into as to what Hinduism actually is. Yes, he's right. Jane Shepherd is absolutely right about it. Basically, so what he's getting at here is that if you go to South India, we have like folk deities like Mariamma, Masaniamma, Karpusami, Madurai Veeran, right? We have different like village deities and protector deities that aren't worshipped in the north. Like if you ask a northerner like who Mariamma is or Ayanad is, they don't know who that is. They don't know who any of these folk deities are. It's as B.R. Ambedkar said, Dr. Ambedkar said, Hinduism is nothing but a collection of castes. That's correct. Hinduism is basically just a bunch of castes in one trench coat. So basically what you know as Hinduism, the reason there's a lot, so Pongal is not celebrated in northern India. Yeah, that's a Tamil holiday. So you have like, basically, you have so many different castes in India that worship very different, local deities that have been, folded into one overarching fold called Hinduism, basically. So that's why you have like such a variation of beliefs. The way I describe it usually is imagine if like the Greek pantheon clashed with indigenous beliefs. That's why you have so many gods. Because you also have like Greek pantheon equivalents in the subcontinent, right? So you have like Zeus, Zeus, Neptune, those sorts of like Ares equivalents in India, right? You have that. But then you also have like indigenous gods like Krishna and that later became Brahmanized, like Shiva, Krishna, Murugan. You have all of these different indigenous beliefs that became Brahmanical and that became like established within the Brahmanical fold, basically.
All right, so, but to get us back on the subject here,
right?
What does this mean for the future of India?
It means that Modi's panicking. Modi was panicking in the start of the election. And that's why he went full. That's why Modi was significantly more mask off with regards to the Islamophobia than he had previously been. Modi's not known for being openly Islamophobic like that. It's usually his cronies that do the job, right? It's usually Yogi Adityanath. Modi has said some wild shit before, but he also has to maintain like this Vishwaguru, he has to maintain this sort of like world leader sort of image, right? So he hasn't been openly like communal, like Islamophobic or anything like that until the election results started showing up within the first 3 phases. That's when he started saying, oh, Muslims are infiltrators, they're this, they're that. Do you want to give all of your wealth to the Muslims or whatever? Like, that's when he started going super mask off, right? So I've been saying this for quite a long time. I predicted the election results perfectly, basically. I've been saying that they're they're cracking, they're hemorrhaging votes. I think what is going to happen is if Congress can maintain this momentum in India, then this may be Modi's last term, right? If Congress and the left can maintain, and the actual left can maintain some level of momentum, this may be Modi's last term for quite a while, because it's becoming blatantly obvious, especially since the farmers' protest and especially since the COVID, that BJP's popularity has been declining, and they effectively already ulted with the Rama temple, right? By trying to be like, oh, we did what we set out to do. We did everything that we set out to do. We built the Rama temple in Ayodhya, and people within that town itself told them to piss off. So what is likely to happen is Modi's grip on India is going to continue to diminish. It is going to go down. There's a lot of hopium to take away from this. It is going to get better, right? And like to put it into context, India handled COVID far worse than the United States did. There were far more deaths in India than there were in the United States.
6 times more.
6 times. Actually, I think 12 actually. Yeah, 6 times more. Yeah. 6 to 12 times more. It was that bad. People were dying of black fungus. Do you think India January 6th or Modi turning more authoritarian? Modi cannot turn more authoritarian this time around. He's actually in the hot seat right now. He's actually under a lot of pressure at the moment because the other members of the so the BJP didn't outright win the majority. They did not win the majority. Their coalition did. So in these sorts of situations in parliament, the way it works is the smaller parties within the coalition have significantly more power over BJP because now they have the mandate to make demands of the BJP. So BJP's strength has significantly weakened. The other members of the coalition are stronger. And what we're going to see, it was this generational shift that we see. Yes, we're seeing a huge shift in the sort of popularity of the BJP. India is moving away. I mean, it's not like if Congress gets into power, everything's going to be fine. It's not like there's still a neoliberal party. They still, oh yes, Umar Khalid is still in jail. Unfortunately, Umar Khalid was a student that was locked up under the BJP under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which is a draconian law passed under Congress, by the way, I believe. Yes, Umar Khalid. Yes, he's still in jail because he was locked up under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which is a draconian law that India has, and it's been around since like much earlier, right? Even under Congress, right? And it basically enables the Indian government to arrest you. It's basically allows you to arrest anyone that you think is a threat to the state, basically. So he was locked up under that law, and he's still in prison, right? He's been demanding to get bail. The Supreme Court has outright denied his bail. He's been in jail for how long has he been in jail for? He's been in jail for like 4 or 5 years or something like that. Even longer, I think. He's been in jail for quite a long time, like half a decade at least. And so yeah, I guess and Congress unfortunately hasn't said anything about releasing Umar Khalid, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But yeah, what I think is going to happen going forward is that BJP's power is absolutely going to weaken. It's been on the writing. It's been on the wall for quite a while, right? BJP's popularity waning has been on the wall for at least a couple of years at this point. They lost Karnataka last year because of how badly they fumbled it. And they lost UP. They lost 50 seats in UP last year or so, something like that. And they're continuing to hemorrhage seats. So Modi's in a position where he can either, kind of I don't think he's in a position to really do anything because he wants to pursue fascism and even further neoliberal policies. And there's also beginnings of an internal division between Modi and the RSS as well that he has to contend with. So basically, the BJP is in a position where they're actually panicking. They're not in a great position right now, and that's why all the Hindu nationalists in India, and it was actually rural India that delivered this L to Modi. It was the rural farmers of Uttar Pradesh. It was the rural people of the state of Uttar Pradesh that handed this fat ass L to Modi. It was Uttar Pradesh was like one of the everyone was saying, oh, Modi's gonna grab Uttar Pradesh. But the truth is, Uttar Pradesh is actually rural Uttar Pradesh is actually quite conscious of their material conditions. They know when Modi is like not putting food on the fucking table. And they know when the government is not putting food on the table, and they voted and they said, fuck you, Modi, get out. So I think what's going to happen even further is Indians are beginning to say, hold on a second. We've been fucked over by Modi. We've been fucked over by BJP. Wealth inequality right now is worse than it was under British rule. The wealth inequality is significantly worse than it was under British rule. And I've been calling this for about a month. I've been calling this election for about a month. I said, like, unless the BJP outright rigs it, they are going to hemorrhage seats. And I was proven right, basically. And it is going to get worse for the BJP, basically.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's some good news at least.
Yeah.
And not that the alternative is any, I mean, the alternative won't be as like aggressive, it seems, but they'll still be implementing the same economic policies.
Yes and no. I mean, overall, they're not going to change the capitalism, but they're probably going to implement like way better welfare policies than what the Modi administration has done, basically.
Okay. All right. Well,
before I go, I do want to introduce you to one particular music video, and it is a banger. And chat, it is exactly what you think it is, guys. It's time to love charge Hasan.
They've been asking, they've been demanding you play this, send this to me.
Yes, it is Love Charger. This guy.
Where is it?
I got you. Check your DMs. This is it. This is it. This is the thing that everyone's been demanding. My mods are gonna be so mad at me for this. But I caved into one of my chatters' demands.
Okay, this isn't bad. If you thought
it's actually a good music video. The problem is the dude is a cult leader. That's the problem. The dude's a cult leader. The guy singing it is a cult leader.
Oh, wait, that's his cult? He's got a big ass cult like that?
Yeah, that's his cult. Yeah.
Oh my god.
India has a shit ton of cults. He's in trouble for exactly what you think cult leaders would do. Like, he's gotten booked by the government for what you think he would do.
God damn.
Exactly. They got break dancers, they got trapeze artists, they got everything.
They apparently also seemingly have a lot of money. I mean, this is like not a cheap production to put together.
Oh, it is not. Okay, chat. My chatters, I never want to hear you say play Love Charger for like the next 5 months in my chat. Understood? 64 Square Poet. I never want you to bring up Love Charger ever again.
I mean, I get why he has a cult. I mean, he's kind of popping.
Yeah, he knows how to entertain. Yeah, Little Bear has seen.
Was he saying he can any problem, any movement, like you can issue, you can deal with it with a love charger?
Yeah, basically. I mean, Love Charger is he's basically like.
Someone said this guy murdered a journalist. What?
Yeah, he's
when you said cult, I was just like, oh, he's a rapist and maybe a pedophile.
He also got convicted for rape, right?
Okay,
but
that's a given.
Also, I think he murdered someone. He murdered a journalist, I think.
Okay,
like
the rape I expected because you said cult leader, but I did not expect murdering a fucking journalist. What is going on in India, bro?
Hold on. There's one, like I told you, Indian news is absolutely bonkers. Like
murder conviction, castration of followers.
Oh yeah,
hundreds of followers, hundreds.
Yeah,
400 of his followers. Bro, after like the second castration, people got to be like, okay, what the fuck are we doing here? He went for 400. Bro, this dude is like a global phenomenon. Like this guy is like,
I just realized it's only when I talk to outsiders about like Indian politics that I realize how fucking insane we are.
What
like,
the fuck? He just killed.
Insane.
He killed someone outside of his home after reporting articles on the rape charges. Afterwards, his father gave a letter to the police implicating their members. On 17th, Ram Rahim was sentenced to life imprisonment by special CBI court along with 3 other men involved.
Yeah. No, there's a guy from India called Nityananda.
Wait, there were riots?
What?
Wait, his defense in 2014, Ram Rahim said he was impotent since 1990. That's insane. Wait, so why isn't he in prison? I don't understand.
No, he was just recently let out on bail, actually.
Oh, he was in prison. He's on parole.
He was in prison. He's out on bail. He's out on parole. Yeah, he was again, January 19, 2024. Ram Rahim was again granted parole. Last sentence right there. He was again granted parole, this time for 50 days.
Why did they just keep giving him parole?
Because he's pro BJP, basically.
Wait, I thought he was like, it feels like he's anti Muslim and also anti Hindutva, I thought, but I guess maybe not.
This dude is I mean, the way it works is like if you just join BJP, like there's a guy called Brij Bhushan Singh, right? Let me type the name. This guy's also like he was the head of like the Wrestling Federation of India, right? Right? Like he was the head of like the Wrestling Federation of India. And he basically, I think, sexually harassed and I think raped a couple of wrestlers. But the moment he joined BJP, all of his like investigations, like he's never been held accountable for that.
Okay.
Right? So India,
he holds Guinness World Records for drives. Wait, what? Organized drives for blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol screening. He also has a movement against prostitution. And he got an invitation from the United Nations. The United Nations water body on their official Twitter handle had invited Ram Rahim and his adopted daughter, Honeypreet Insan, to support its World Toilet Day event, which was what sounds like a joke. The rationale behind the UN decision to invite 2 of India's most controversial figures is still puzzling, as the tweets were later taken down without any clarification.
Mango Muncher, I know who you're talking about, Nityananda. Yeah, there's a cult leader in India that was accused of, that was being investigated for rape. So he fled India and he created his own country.
What do you mean? Like where? What?
Like I think it was off the coast of like Ecuador or Chile. And he just fled India and created his own country. It's called Kailasa. Like this, hold on, this is the guy. Let me see. I think someone sent me this earlier. Yeah, it's this guy. Sri Nityananda.
This election, his son won the seat where Brij Bhushan was elected. What the fuck, bro? I'm so confused. Wait, what is this?
This is another cult leader from India who was accused of rape.
Bro, this
He's
dude's got
unfortunate-
42 likes, bro. For Indian Twitter, I mean, come on. This guy should be hitting at least 1,000. You know what I mean?
No, Indian Twitter is actually not as. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that. But like, yeah, Kailasa. This dude's a meme. We all like this dude is an absolute. Yeah, this is the E equals MC squared guy. So he's a cult leader from my home state. Unfortunately, we don't claim him. But he's a well-known meme among the Indians because he's a rapist that fled to what, like Cuba, like not Cuba, it was like Ecuador or Peru or something. Like he fled to the coast of like South America. And he's known for saying, here's the classic, hold on a sec, here's the classic clip of it. Equals MC explain Nityananda. This is the classic. This is the clip. This is the classic clip of it.
E equal to not MC square. Cannot be MC square. What is MC square? The
Yeah, this
difference
is it.
between intensity and continuity. What is energy? What is matter? Matter is continuity, energy is intensity. MC.
Bro, this guy needs to have a link up with Terrence Howard.
That's all. That is all. That's his hair, right? That's all of his.
Oh shit! I didn't even realize. I thought that was like a
Those are
hat.
all his locks.
What do you call as matter? Anything continue. What do you call as energy? Anything intense. The intensity and continuity is separate for a non-veg crooked brain which has seen only ups and downs. Only a
He's cooking, bro. You don't understand it.
vegetarian brain which can retain the experiences continuously without losing the intensity can understand M and C is not MC. It is MC.
I don't even know what the fuck I don't understand what he's saying.
Here's the classic clip of Republic TV. This is basically Tucker Carlson's program, and this is like one more clip of how insane Indian politics.
What? Are they doing like? Wait, are they doing TikTok style verses shit? You know how like on TikTok Live they do verses?
The context here is that the guy on the right is a guy they hired from Pakistan to come on to the show, and the guy on the left, I don't know who he is, but basically this is primetime television, and they basically are doing this is in the wake of the Pulwama attacks, right? And so what you're seeing is that
What?
They're basically they're saying I'll destroy your country. No, I'll destroy your country. That's basically it.
At least you know what I've found out. At least they have fun, okay, and that's what's important here.
Yeah.
That they have fun. All right. Well, Arun, thank you so much for coming on.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
ArunAnnow, everybody. You should check out his Twitch, Indian Hasan, for more updates, not just on Indian politics, but in general.
The next time, okay, I promise you, the next time like we talk, it'll be about the Tamil genocide documentary. It is still in the works.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us about this
Thank you.
important piece of news. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.